All right, and we're live. Welcome to Josh and Aaron Talk About Stuff. I am Josh with my great buddy,
Aaron. Still and always.
maybe, who knows.
Maybe.
So before we actually talk about
Stuff.
today's stuff, we completely left out something really important from our education talk last week.
Uh-oh.
And how, because we went off a lot of tangents and a lot of
Oh, man, big time, right?
We completely forgot to talk about how COVID affected education in general.
Right. I think that was actually the other thing that spurred on the topic in the first place.
It was, yeah. And how it kind of like exposed a wound, if you will. Both how you can teach virtually and be successful in it.
Absolutely.
But then it just, I don't know, man. I just think like I think hybrid should be really on everyone's mind, but virtual school, like honestly, working from home I was fortunate enough to do that, but I don't want to go into a building anymore and work, and I think there's a lot of stuff going around.
I think there's a lot of stuff going around that
with
like
businesses,
people are questioning.
like, people can, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of businesses are starting to assess whether or not, if our jobs, if it can be done from home, why not do it from home?
Right, because
now you don't have to have, an office and an office building and break rooms and all this. Just sit at your house and do your job. As long as it's done.
I think though with like education, it's very slow to change, and this really notion that like I hated throughout the whole pandemic. We need to open the schools back up. The schools didn't shut down. Buildings did. School kept going.
Right.
This mindset of you have to be in a building to learn. You know how it's just funny to me how like people will say one thing, but then like the reality is completely different. Like kids looking at an iPad for 8 hours a day. If they weren't in school, they'd be doing it anyway, looking on YouTube.
Right.
It's a matter of
you got no problem paying attention to Minecraft.
So come on now, give me a freaking break, guys. Like kids today, I guess their brains must be different, but they can handle watching YouTube videos all day or playing a video game or doing TikTok, whatever. But asking them to learn for 30 minutes 4 times a day is just too much. Like,
right.
Be real. Like, I think most adults need to actually grow up mentally. On it, people need to start really thinking like, what are you really saying, and what do you really mean? What do you want?
And here's the thing. The fact is, the virtual setting for education is clearly it's not for every kid. There's no way. There's no doubt. Some kids, it's more a challenge than for others. But does
that mean it's impossible?
No, that's where I was. Right. That's what I was going to say. Is that, but to somehow imply that it's not a feasible option for education it's wrong. I mean, it's absolutely a feasible option for education. It's an option for education for any kid that is willing to, try. Does that mean that it's the best option for every kid? No. Just like being in a building is not the best option for every kid. Being online is not the best option for every kid because everybody learns differently. But it's definitely a very real and functional option to educate. And
I feel like there's going to be a big push to not do virtual because it's political and
everything gets political.
Well, what are you going to do if like half of the entire district wants to do virtual? You're going to send half the kids to school because it'll be about money will inevitably come up, which it should never do with education.
Right.
But another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with that was this whole idea of socialization and socialization and socializing kids in a building. Is that really the best setting? Because you can have your kids socialize with other kids of your friends. They don't have to do it in school because school, you go there, you're supposed to learn and go home. Kind of like with the universities. You don't need to have parties all the time and lazy rivers and all that stuff. But like,
but those are fun.
Kids are bullies to each other. There's this and being a bully is a spectrum. It could just be picking on a kid or a group of people ostracizing another because of the whole clique thing that happens in schools. And like, and then if you tell a kid, don't do this, then it comes back, well, why are you telling my kid how to be? Well, I'm sorry, this is school. Okay. What do you want school to be?
Right.
People want school to be one thing and then they don't. Like, what do you want it to be?
What do
You
want
know,
it to be?
like,
I don't think we know is the problem. I don't think
why
we
not? We've been doing it for 150 years.
because I just think somewhere along the line our culture has shifted, and I think we've lost what kind of what we want a lot of things to be.
Like, if you don't want me to tell your kid right from wrong, then maybe you need to homeschool. Because if I'm going to call it out as I see it,
Right.
you know, if a kid is doing wrong or no, we don't say those things or whatever, like, I think that's appropriate and it should be, because
Right.
we're basically, and school has turned into a babysitting service. And like, obviously I don't know what it's like because I don't have a kid, but like, I kind of feel that a lot of parents just wanted their kid to go back to school because, one, they didn't know how to take care of them. And if people didn't post stupid stuff on Facebook all the time, you know, then you wouldn't know what stuff's going on. Like, why are you posting all this crap on Facebook? And just don't like. I just think that, one, there needs to be we need to come back together as parents and teachers and be unified for the children. But like,
Yeah.
Come on, man, what do you?
Dude, don't even get me started on social media though, because that's like, I decided social media is probably the most evil thing that our world.
Well, I was just thinking today, like, I miss the time where we were actually growing up, where, like, you know what? If you really wanted to talk to somebody, you called them, and if they weren't available, you moved on.
Right.
And they're like,
you left them a message on their answering machine, which was,
if they got back
a
to
tape
you,
recorder, and if they
whatever.
got back to you, great. Yeah.
Like this constant. Anyway, so all right, today's main topic is
Main topic.
related to education, and it's student loan debt,
Ooh,
which
one
is
near and dear to my heart.
I think overtaken. It's like the number one debt held in America is student loans, right?
Well, so here's the thing. I'll just jump right in on this bad boy because this one is like super relevant to me, and it's like so many levels. Because one, I'm still paying off my master's degree I got in 2005, right? I mean,
You would think 15 years later, 16 years later, you're still paying on it?
I'm still paying it off, and I will be paying it off on for a while. So there's that aspect of it. But the heck with that, because I'm fine and I'm paying it down, and it's a pain in the neck, but it's whatever. It is what it is, right? But it's for my son that I worry, because the and it's student loan debt is. Here's the thing: we're all up in arms about student loan debt, and we have every reason to be. But the real issue is not the loan debt, but the fact that the price of an education in America has skyrocketed to a point that it's absolutely obscene. We tell young people that they should go to college. Oh, you got to go to college, right? But then we price it so that you either have two options. One, you don't go. Now you have three options. I take it back. One, you don't go. Two, you take out an exorbitant number of loans, and you may work a little bit to try and keep those loans down somewhat, but you take out loans that you're going to be paying back. Or three, you're one of the 1% who can pay for it just out of the pocket, and that's 1%, right? I mean, it's really, I think the group that can seriously out of pocket pay for college is probably like 5% of our population, maybe.
Right.
I'd be interested to know. I mean, but the price of the tuition in America, I mean, a public school, a public university, $25,000 a year.
It's insane. Like,
that was a private school when I was going to school, and I didn't go to college that long ago, Josh. I mean, seriously.
I mean, when did you graduate college?
I graduated college in '98, so
I graduated college in 03.
So less than 20 years for you, and just over 20 years for me. And I grant you that the dollar changes and America moves on and whatnot, but seriously, the price of a college education has almost tripled since I was there.
And here's the thing: has the quality of that education changed over 100
Assuredly
years?
not.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
teachers teaching near where I live. I don't know if I should say the name of the school. I've worn the shirt on the thing. Anyway, are the teachers like that much better, or is it like they're teaching like university professors do?
Right.
Right now, that doesn't mean that professors shouldn't get a raise every year or whatever, but like, the tuition. But like, see, it's a vicious cycle, man, because like schools want patrons, right?
Right.
So they're like, well, what can we do to
What can we do? Make our college better.
Let's make a lazy river for the kids.
Right.
You know, and well, now
Where
we
is
got
it? Wait, what school has a lazy river? Because I want to go to that school.
I think it was LSU.
Man, I want to
They
go
had
there.
like this freaking lazy river for the kids. Like they have, I don't know, because you're supposed to be studying a lot in school if you want to be successful, right?
That was what I thought it was all about.
You know, maybe they do it on the weekends. I don't know. I think it was LSU, but I'm not like saying like. Maybe I am. I don't know. It's not necessary for these schools to have something like that, right? It's not necessary. But if you're going to pay for it, you know, here's for all the fiscally responsible people. How about save the money, so you know, bank some of that profit.
Right.
So then you pay instead of having to raise tuition every year, because tuition has gone up across the board, every school. Every year it goes up, and but the percentage and the difference between what school costs in the '60s, you know, in that golden era, everyone wants to talk about how I went to school on a minimum wage job and I paid for it, blah blah blah. Right. To now, it's insane the difference in cost, and that
you can't. Yeah, it's just not even realistic. Like we did, I can't remember if we were on the air or if we were just chatting after the fact, and I did the math, and it's like, you know. $15 an hour. Maybe it was when we were talking about minimum wage. $15 an hour, 40 hours a week after taxes doesn't cover a university.
Let alone your own expenses. So where the hell are you supposed to get the money from, right?
Right. So you could work 40 hours a week at a minimum wage job. And I don't even know how you're supposed to go to class if you're doing that and do well in class, but you're working 40 hours a week at a minimum wage job. You that doesn't pay for a full year at a university for room and board. And so it's like, you know.
But like you said, there's this big push. Gotta go to school, gotta go to college.
Yeah,
but we're going to make it to where you're like on a chain gang now for the rest of your life paying it off. And it might not be so bad, if it wasn't the interest you had to pay.
Right, if you could just pay it back. Right.
A little interest I understand because it's a business, but like, that's the one thing I don't understand with interest. So it's like a 10% interest. Mm-hmm. They don't just charge you 10% interest on the whole loan. It's 10% interest every payment.
Right.
Which means you're paying double now almost than what they originally gave you. I think that's a racket. Yeah, somebody's getting paid. A racket.
So, you know what, so I guess the question is with all the existing student loans, you know, I think there needs to be something done about the people with existing student loans. I mean, it's been a big push in Congress, right, to reduce the debt, to reduce the payments. You know, is it realistic to forgive every student loan that's out there, like some of the really like super progressive Democrats want to do? I don't know if that's realistic. I mean, I think
forgive a portion of it.
You forgive the whole thing. We're talking about forgiving literally trillions of dollars, and that's not realistic, really. But I mean, forgiving a portion of it, I think definitely forgiving a portion of student loans is a good idea. But that still is just that again is that whole idea of a Band-Aid, because that takes care of all the people that have gotten student loans that are out there. But what about all these kids that are out there now?
That's the thing, though. Like,
massive a number of loans.
Think of it this way. So like. I'm left. I'm a Democrat.
Right.
There's some things at the far left. I shake my head and be like, "You're ruining it for the rest of us." Right.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You're ruining. You're giving us all a bad name here, dude.
But like, I honestly feel, in addition to, let me get it all out because I'm sure anyone the 3 people that listen to us are gonna be like, "What?" Yeah, we should have health care. I mean, at the state level, more or less, K through 12 is paid through by taxes. It's basically free. There's no extra out of pocket for a kid to go to a school, public school in a state. If we're really about promoting the general welfare, and you want kids, encourage people to go to school, then provide the first 4 years. After that, then you can take out a loan if you need to. But not everyone is going to be like, all right, I'll go to school, because you still have to pass. And it could be a string, like if you flunk out, you're not going to get that benefit again. But like, what you were saying, we're trillions of dollars are forgetting student debt right now. On the flip side, we're forgiving trillions of dollars on the people who don't pay the taxes. You know what I mean? Like, there's that big thing going around. Like, I went on a major rant about it. Like Jeff Bezos paying like no federal tax.
Right.
This country can fund 4 years of college for everybody if they choose to go, and healthcare. It's priorities of spending. Now, it's kind of like that percentage thing, like Chipotle raising their price at the burrito, like it was like 8%, which equated to like 20 cents. If our taxes went up 1%, yeah, I mean, all right, I have 13 less dollars. If that breaks the bank, I don't know, for the middle class, like everyone can cut costs. Like I'm figuring out how to cut costs with some of my expenditures, and that it adds up, right? So I'm just saying, like, we can, like, when people are like, it's a radical left idea to want to provide education for people. Like, I love my voice when I'm doing that. but like, come on, is it really, like, what's radical? Continuing the cycle we're doing. That's more radical, like just continuing, like taking I don't know, it's not taken for granted, but like, don't, I don't know. I think we're on the same page, but I've reached my limit being frustrated. I can't even get the words out right now. Like,
just too much.
It's like, but here's the thing though, student debt eventually has become so crippling and so massive and big, the system's going to, because the government's either going to give these colleges back their money or they ain't getting it. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing is like you've been paying for 16 years. It should not take 16 years. Like a mortgage for a house, all right, one thing.
Right.
Even that's a whole nother, but like to pay back, that just means it was too much money. If it takes you 16 years, you're not even done with paying it back. If you haven't paid it back in 16 years, it costs way too much. But I want to know what that money's going to, like,
right.
Yeah, a building needs to have air conditioning, but do you need to have, like, the dorm I actually lived in, the first year I was in college, there was like a suite, but it was 6 people sharing one bathroom. Right. That's getting your money's worth out of there, you know what I'm saying? But then it turned into, you have 4 people with 2 separate bathrooms, like, yeah, people got to have appropriate accommodations, but like, and you got to feed them, but like, it's just too much money, because especially if you go to an online program, it should be like a fraction of the cost.
And it's not. And that's
right.
Also a real issue. The fact that so many of these colleges have gone into an online function right now, and they're going back to the in-person in the fall, but the fact that they had these kids in class online and were charging full price tuition.
They got to pay for that building, bro.
Robbery.
Bank don't care.
Robbery.
It's robbery. And so that's like, we need to rethink education completely. Like, have a couple. Well, yeah, the whole gamut, absolutely. The whole gamut, the whole kit and caboodle.
Just the whole dang thing.
You know what? Like, because eventually the student loan debt's gonna, just like I said before, the bubble will burst, and then guess what? Universities might have to default and close, because I mean, they kind of bank on that money of getting repaid back, in addition to the people who are able to pay. But the government, see, here's where the Congress, both sides, Senate and the House, and the government and the executive branch of the government, and the state level and the federal, need to get off their ass and start actually working, because the crap that one side comes up with, that's the issue that you really like. I think in Florida, the governor signed a bill that public schools are required to have a moment of silence every morning when the new school year starts. At least 1 minute, but no more than 2. And the reason, so like, that's what you're worried about, not all the other crap that you have to deal with. Like,
imagine being a teacher and having to enforce that. No, everybody, this is our moment of silence.
Well, as a school, like, anyway, so like, another thing people don't want to do is like at some point one group of people are going to have to like make some sacrifices for the generations to come, because if you really want the future generations, you know, our posterity. Oh, that's another word in the Constitution, by the way.
Good word.
If you want them to have a good life, because my whole life, you know, heard my parents say, I wanted my life to be better than my parents, and I want your life to be better than one of mine. Like, if that's really how parents think, then you should.
You're not creating it.
At some point, we have to sacrifice, and okay, maybe for the next 10 years, this group of people, we got to pay a little more.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to be inconvenienced. And some people are going to have to pay more, and they have nothing to do with the issue, because we're all in together because we live in a society, right? Maybe we shouldn't have done a season of social stuff, because now I'm just amped up every episode.
Now you're just amped.
But that's how I am. That's who I am. I'm not, and who's to say that we're right about anything? That's not the point. We're just talking about it and how we feel about it, you know.
Yeah,
but like, there is an issue with student loan, and you can't be like, well, then get a better job. I gotta go to school to get a better job, you know, and that's 4 years under before I can get a degree.
The whole thing is broken.
You know, you know, maybe you shouldn't go to college. Okay, what? Come on, okay, what? Pick a side. Do you want me to go to school or you don't? You know what I mean? Like.
You don't get to have it both ways.
You can't have it both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have it and look at it, or you can eat it and it's gone.
No, I mean, and I just the, you know, so what do we do with the existing student loans? I don't know what the best.
Some of it needs to be forgiven.
Funny enough, actually, that Q is actually, my other one was actually he wrote a research paper on it for the end of the year on debt. So I actually was looking at some of the numbers, and the numbers are staggering. And, you know, the plan, you know, the plan to forgive all the debt that the exceedingly progressive left would have, and the amount of debt how much that would be. And then
well, I don't know, man, because like there's some stuff that if the debt's forgiven, economists have shown that the economy will actually boom.
Well, that's the thing. That's one theory, is that the economy will boom, because if the debt's forgiven, then you don't have to put the money into the debt.
Right, but there also
so what are you going to put the money into? Oh, you're going to put it into businesses. So that's going to cause, you know, growth. And so there's just a lot of, but I think regardless of what the solution is, I think the big thing is to acknowledge that it is a problem, and it's a problem that hits everybody.
And I would think you could do,
you know, almost anybody that's gone through the system of higher education came out with some sort of debt. Not everybody. There were a few people that came out debt free, but most of us came out with some debt, and some of us have finished paying it off, and some of us are still paying it back.
Right.
And whatever that might be. But the one, like I said, what worries me is the kids that are going through now, because as the price of education just spirals out of control. Yeah, it's great to forgive all these people that are carrying debt now, but what about these kids that are just starting out? What are we going to do?
A lot of things for the kids just starting out are not going to be good in the future if we don't fix it. But like, I think there should be some.
I think it's something we've kind of hit. That's sort of a theme we've hit upon as we've talked, and never. No, but the thing of it is, I don't think we've ever really quite said it. But it's like we're kind of going down a pathway that, you know, the current generation is going to have some battles to fight if we don't start.
Yeah, according to my episode book here, next week is one of those battles that kids are going to have to fight in the future, which we're going to have to fight because hopefully we'll still be alive. But anyway,
right? Yeah.
I think with like the student loan thing, there should be some contingencies. Like if you have a current student loan debt right now, we'll pay it off. If you want to continue to go to school after, then you have to pay your own way. Or you get a 4-year stretch of school.
Yeah.
Because really a bachelor's degree is really all you need, kind of like to get your foot in the door. Because a lot of companies will pay for you to get more education.
Yeah. A lot of them will.
You know, so
that first 4 years is all you, for a lot of professions, that first 4 years gets you going.
And honestly, if high school did what it was supposed to do, college would only need to be 2 years. Because like all you're rehashing in the first 2 years of college is
what you should have gotten in high school.
Right. Like, and I don't know, maybe we need to change the ages of when kids go to college and when school starts. Like I've been a proponent of I think kids for at least for a couple summers of their life should go work on a farm.
Right.
To understand the value of actual hard work and taking care of another life.
That's not hard work, please. Whatever. Farm life. Piece of cake.
You're right. I mean, yeah. Can you getting up at 5 in the morning, and feeding the animals before you get fed.
Lord, I'm so soft. I'd kill me. I ain't even pretend it's
It reminds me of that movie Son-in-Law, man. With I love that movie. But like, I think
sure.
you know how like some countries, I guess, like make you do a mandatory couple years in the military.
Yeah.
Which I'm against, but I understand the value of. It does take discipline to be an adult and to live and be in a society. So like, yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm against the idea of mandatory military service, but at the same time, there is something to be said for that idea of mandatory service. Like you need to kind of see what it's like. You know, I mean, what if, you know, we have things in our country like, was it AmeriCorps? And, you know, we have AmeriCorps. And, and
what's that thing in our country about AmeriCorps?
It's kind of like AmeriCorps, but it's it's AmeriCorps.
Right.
What if we made like every young person coming out of high school like?
Well, we make them do, what is it like when your graduation project thing? You have to do community service, right?
Or what if we offered up an option? Hey, you do 2 years in AmeriCorps, you get college for free.
Or
2 years of service.
But I think
2 years of service, you get 4 years of college.
Oh, I was just thinking, like the other day, I said it before, like for most of Americans, lower middle class up, we live like freaking Roman emperors.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and so there is a small percentage of our society that like really struggle every day, and sometimes you get bumped around between economic brackets, but like I'm only speaking for Americans. Americans are soft, and like, I'm sorry you're a parent, and you could probably say yes. For the most part, parents soften up those kids. Like they need to experience hard work to appreciate how good they got it.
Not me, man. I haven't fed my boys in 50. I haven't fed my boys in 15 years.
Every time I see him, he's eating. That's all you spend your money on lately, is food, right? So I'm going off the deep end here, but like,
yeah, you're tangent today. It's all good.
Whatever, man. That's what makes this thing cool. But
that's what makes it. That's what makes it talking about stuff.
Hey, we have a main point, and we always circle back around, and that's okay.
Yeah, right. I know.
But, all right, well, we can wrap it up. So, student loan debt, like, well, it's bad, but at least until universities, maybe they need to change some of their ways too.
Yeah.
You know, like
I really do think that's the bigger issue. I really go back to that. And student loan debt is out of control. Student loan debt is bad. But the problem is the American university system has become it's too much. It's just not, it's
right.
just obscene. And it blew me away when 2 years ago I started looking with my kid. I just was like, I had no idea that it had gotten to that point. Like, you know, because like, I just, you know, we're saving up, we're doing things, we're getting him ready. Now, okay, now we're going to start looking around at, you know, universities and start looking like,
who can afford this?
Is this?
Right. So universities need to redo some stuff, but society also needs to be like, hey, if we want people to go to school, then we need to make it affordable.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Maybe more emphasis.
If we're going to continue to insist to young people that higher education is valid and valuable, then we need to help them get said education without sticking them in debt for 15
right.
years.
And stop talking about college to elementary school kids. Let kids learn who they are. You know, like,
you shouldn't start talking to kids about college till their junior year.
I honestly agree with that. Like, because if you just keep forcing, well, I gotta go to college, that's what they want me to do. But like, I really like plumbing. You know, there's a kid out there, I'm sure, that like,
oh sure,
people like to do that, like mechanics.
No, I mean, there are kids out there that's like, what do you want to do? I want to be a carpenter. I want to be, you know, I like working with wood. I want to be a plumber. I want to be an electrician. Great.
Honestly,
go to college.
Here's how I feel: your kid is not a clone. If you wanted a clone, then you should have learned some science and science the shit out of it. Let kids, I think they should be exposed to a lot of stuff. Expose them to martial arts and music and sports and comics. Because you're not who you are when you're 6 years old. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a long time for you to become
I'd be making pizzas at this point in my life. If I was who I was when I was 6. Because I was pretty convinced I was going to be a pizza maker.
There's nothing wrong with it, but you should at least make $15 an hour doing it.
Amen. And if I own my own pizza joint, more than that.
Think about it, man.
But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make pizzas, and there's not a darn thing wrong with that. And but I guess my point is simply, you don't know who you are when you're 5 or 6. I want to make pizzas.
Expose kids to everything. Don't obviously raise your kid. We're talking about all kinds of crap. Anyway, if you don't want them to go to college, don't make them. Let them choose.
Right.
That's another thing. Like, oh well, I'm gonna make my kid go to college. Okay,
Why?
that's not. Then you want rebellion. Then there you go. Anyway. Right. Okay.
Okay, and on that,
this might be like, maybe we need to rein it in next time. I don't know. Sorry, Mom, for talking so much. If you watch,
you won't ever let me say anything.
And off camera, if I need to tone it down some, you can tell me.
Nah, I never would, man. I like it.
All right. Anyway. That's it. I need to come up with a catchphrase to end this out because I'm just like, oh, we're ending, because all the guys that I like follow on YouTube or whatever, they always like have a thing that they say every episode. I'm good at starting out, and we're live.
Yeah, we got a thing. We're live. It's Josh and Aaron. We're talking about.
We're gonna say, all right, and we're signing off now.
Signing off.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
Peace.
Anyone that does watch the show, I appreciate it. All 4 or 5 of you.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna make it to where more people can listen because YouTube is very specific in like how you can watch it and listen to it.
Right.
I can't have my phone closed and it shuts it off. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I appreciate everyone that likes it and watches episodes and whatever. Anyway, see you later. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.